Arizona man's case is very unusual. It's still waiting for a chance for mercy from the president himself.
The Arizona Justice Project says this man was a scapegoat for a prison murder, and instead of being released long ago for a drug charge, he's still serving a life sentence. Our true crime correspondent Brianna Whitney has more on this.
Yeah, I was learning about this case for the first time. It's decades old, but now it's back in the headlines. So it's really just such a bizarre case. Joseph Fuentes went into the prison system for a marijuana charge and ended up a convicted murderer. But after decades of research on this case, specifically, the Arizona Justice Project says Fuentes did not murder anyone and hopes Joe Biden agrees before he leaves office.
A father, a son, a welder, and a killer. Those are all titles associated with Joseph Fuentes. But
I truly believe he is an innocent man who's in prison for something he didn't do.
Fuentes was 24 years old in the Phoenix area back in 2000 when he was sentenced to 8 years in prison for a marijuana drug charge. But just over a year after his imprisonment, a group of prisoners stabbed another inmate to death. That group pointing to Fuentes as the mastermind behind the killing.
Joseph actually first wrote to us, I think almost 20 years ago, but the review of his case really got underway about 2012 or 2013.
Karen Smith is the senior litigation counsel at the Arizona Justice Project. While they receive hundreds of letters from inmates seeking help, they felt Fuentes' case was a possible wrongful conviction. Their investigators did a deep dive on the prison yard murder victim and the co-defendants in the case.
And they uncovered some relationships among these people that pre-existed before they got to federal prison.
They found through police records the murder victim was arrested on the nearby Indian reservation for assaulting the teenage niece of one of the co-defendants. The AZ Justice Project believes
he came up with this story to kind of cover up his own role in it and agreed, to point the finger at Joseph and testify against him in exchange for a deal that would allow him to get out of prison faster.
Fuentes was convicted of 2 life sentences for first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder. The Justice Project submitted an official request for presidential clemency at the end of October. And while Fuentes' case was not in today's round of grants, it also wasn't denied. With weeks left in President Biden's term,
we're hopeful that, this last chance will be granted so that Joseph can get out.
So because of where this federal case legally stands now, if clemency is not granted for Joseph Fuentes, he will remain imprisoned for the rest of his life, guys.
Yeah, and so we're waiting on something from the president, from the White House. What about the governor? Could she play into this at all?
Normally we are talking about the governor. We're talking about pardons and clemency, but not in this case because it is a federal case. He is at a federal prison. And so based on where this case stands now with everything that they've gone through within court and all those kind of appeals, things like that, clemency is the only option for him.
Wow.
If he were just serving the time for the drug charge, when would he have been released?
He would have been released in 2008.
Wow, long time ago.
Right. So we're talking decades. I thought it was crazy when she said that Joseph reached out to the AZ Justice Project 20 years ago. 20 years ago, and they started really reviewing the case records in his case in 2012, 2013. And so we're talking just such a long time working on this to get to this point.
It is wild when you start digging into kind of the fine print on many of these sentencings to try to make sense of it. Brianna, thank you.